we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
What's up, everybody? And I have a very special guest as we approach the draft and everything else non-Aaron Rodgers related. My good friend Gunny, what's up, man?
Hey, Tyson, what's good, brother? Hey, I'm doing good, man. It's always a great time talking to you. I appreciate the invite. This is pretty much making my day.
Making my day, man. I've been dying to talk to you, and it's just like, it's been like since the Aaron Rodgers announcement, it's been weird, hasn't it? Like you're like a great content creator, but like, dude, it's just been strange, right?
Yeah, it has been. It's one of those things where it's kind of like on a repeat, right? It's like what was that Groundhog Day type of thing since the Aaron Rodgers news kind of came out, and it's just one of those things where I'm like, man, I want to put some content out there, but I know myself, I get bored watching the same stuff over and over again. I don't want to be that guy that just puts a video out there to put it out there. So I've been pretty much ghost, kind of waiting on an opportunity to provide some fresh content for Jets fans. And yeah, man, it's been weird. I really felt by now we would have already had Rodgers on the team, and we're talking about additions we're having to add to the team where we could see ourselves talking about predictions. But here we are, still waiting on the Aaron Rodgers release. So it's still a hostage.
And it's weird because it's usually like, as a Jet fan that's been suffering for the last however many years, usually we're so into the draft, man. We have a top 5 pick, top 2 pick. When we're talking draft usually in October, November, but like by this point, we're arguing feverishly over who we have to get and what's our best option. And like, to me, I'm not really into the draft that much. I mean, obviously you keep track of everything, but like,
of course,
like you're looking at it. I'm like, first of all, we don't know what pick we're going to have. Could it be 13? Could it be 15? Can we swap those picks? Are we going to have second round picks? Are we not? Like, we don't know anything. And for me, it kind of took away some of the luster of this draft. Maybe because I'm just annoyed by all this, but like, do you have that same energy for the draft this year?
Yeah, in all actuality, I'm with you, man. I feel like we're kind of in a holding pattern. Like you said, usually by now, we as Jets fans have had numerous mock drafts since October. We already now have done our finalized mock drafts, knowing exactly what our picks are. But like you just said, are we picking at 13? Are we picking at 15? Are we going to have both second rounders? Are we going to lose both second rounders? Yep. I mean, we all kind of have an idea of where it might be going, but not having that written in hand this close to the draft has been kind of frustrating, to say the least. So yeah, man, it's more so on, can Aaron Rodgers deal get done yet, so we know what we're actually working with moving forward. And until we get that news, we're all kind of in a holding pattern.
Yeah, so we'll see all the Rodgers stuff towards the end. Let's go to a bunch of different stuff. We're going to change it up a little bit, make things a little more interesting. And right now, as I tell you, the biggest story, minus Aaron Rodgers, is Quinnen Williams, who voluntary workouts, which obviously no big deal, but he was very adamant that he is not going to report without a new contract. In my eyes, he's earned it. He's heading into the prime of his career. He's emerging as one of the best defensive players in football, but the Jets are slow playing it. And to me, as an uneducated salary cap guy, it seemed like the longer they drag this out, the higher his value is going, because all these other players like Simmons and everybody else are signing these big fat deals. What do you think?
100%. I was very, very on board with getting him that contract, like towards the back end of last season. I felt like it would have been a statement signing to kind of let some of our young guys know, understand that if you put in the work, you can continue to excel and show growth. We're going to take care of you. Homegrown guys get taken care of. And the fact that we're here right now, this close to the draft, and we haven't done it yet, it is kind of frustrating because, as you just stated, the price point for him, I think we all had the idea of between 20 and 25 million before the season ended last year. Now we're like, well, seeing some of these other guys get paid, we're in that 23 to $25 million range. And like you said, it's going to keep going up, right? And I'm not surprised he's not there. He told us he wouldn't be there. And in all actuality, this is one of those rare occasions where I'm siding with the player. I think in this case, he's done everything the organization has asked of him. He's been a stellar model of what you want a franchise player to look like. 100%. What are we waiting on? This guy was a first-team All-Pro last year. We saw him out for one game, and our defense couldn't breathe on the quarterback. He's that impactful. So it's weird to me that we've gotten to this point, but I think Joe Douglas knows this too, and he's probably trying to make sure it's as cap friendly as possible, not just to make sure he gets paid, but like long term for the team moving forward. But no, I'm with you, man. I think this is a joke. He should have already gotten paid, and now we're in a situation now where we're not talking 20 million anymore. It's 23 to 25, maybe $26 million a year for his services.
Yeah, he's going to be, definitely $100 million contract. And you can manipulate it however you want, but signing bonus like that, he's going to get a crazy amount of guaranteed money, over $100 million. But to me, it's like, he's like you said it, like the locker room is watching this one, dude. They are. Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. They're like, all right, this is one of our guys. You told us play like a Jet, do all the right things. We want to earn you as much money as possible. Like Saleh always says that. Okay, he's now earned it. He's gotten better every year. He's a dominant force. Like I said, he's young, dude. And he's legitimately a building block for your defense, unquestionable. So pay him. And now
pay him, man.
The only thing I wonder is, could the Aaron Rodgers negotiations with his contract and all the things they got to inherit, him like restructuring it, could that hinder this? I don't know. I still think my biggest fear is that I don't care about this time of year. It doesn't matter. When you get to mini camp, kind of annoying. But when it gets close to training camp and this starts to lag into that, that's when it gets annoying and bothersome, Duke. I don't think it should get that far.
100%. We want this guy in training camp. You know what I'm saying? When the practices start mattering, making sure that cohesion with the defensive line is there. We're going to have another person next to his left or to his right? We don't know if we're going to do so in the draft or we're looking at another defensive lineman right now in free agency. But nonetheless, he's going to have a different person to his left or to his right. And I think that's important for him to start creating that chemistry now in training camp. So for me, if we get to training camp and he hasn't gotten his contract, make the kid happy, man. Get him in there. This kid's a kid that's hungry. Like you said, he's young. He's hungry. He's a father now. I feel like as you get older and you're getting more responsibilities, men start to want to go ahead and shape what their legacy is going to be. You're getting him at the right time right now, right? He's now becoming a family man. Just had his kid. Pay the man. Pay the man. Show him he's valued, and then he's going to go ahead, I think, in return, show us the value he brings to this defense and this team as an organization.
Yeah, because you can almost see it now. Like the Jets are on Hard Knocks, right? Because that funny feeling that's going to happen, even though I don't want them to be.
Same
right?
thing. I don't want it.
You have the Aaron Rodgers stuff, and then you had the Quinnen Williams holdout, similar to like the Revis holdout way back when. Like that's my biggest fear. Like I want, because the Rodgers stuff's already going to be a distraction. The Jets are going to have so many things, or like they're already going to be on everybody's spotlight in terms of just like drama and trying to create stories. I don't want that one big one with a guy it's like a guy that you don't need this from. Like you want him here. He's part of the puzzle. Just get it figured out. And you mentioned, well, let's see, guy, a compliment. You did a good job last night on Buffalo Jet fans. See that?
I appreciate that, Ryder. Thanks a lot, man. We did a mock draft last night, the first 43 picks. And I had a blast doing it. We had some technical difficulties with Buffalo. His internet going out, and he was having some weather issues that killed his internet a little bit, but it was a good time. It was me, Jets Chaos, Buffalo Jets fan, Y2K, Dom C, proud New York Jets fan. We all just got on there. Oh, Tigo, talking sports with Tigo. Like we did, I think, a pretty good job drafting not just the Jets needs, but like literally from first pick all the way to pick 43.
Damn. Look at you, celebrity. Are you going to charge me for this appearance, man? How much is the fee? Do I get like a bill in the mail or something?
Not at all, brother. Not at all. This is a opportunity for me, and I appreciate it. I just appreciate the honor of being here.
Wait, I'm not going to taste of the food. What's going on here? Like, you're not sharing?
The wife just came in. My daughter just came from a soccer game, and they have some delicious treats. Oh, thank you. I mean, if you want to, I could.
I'm not getting anything, man.
I can describe it to you, my man. It's delicious.
What the hell? How is this fair, man? This ain't fair at all.
Hey, it's the new strawberry shortcake McFlurry, apparently, and that is
man.
good.
What are we doing here? This is not fair at all.
This is so good. Sorry, but I'll keep this to the side so you don't have to see it.
trying to be healthy over here. But so you mentioned it earlier though. Next to Quinnen Williams, interesting occurrence here. Sheldon Rankins is gone. Nathan Shepard's gone. They go out and sign Jefferson, but you still get the feeling that they need more help there, man. Especially it's just that's the force of their line. Their defense is predicated on that line. Do you think they try to sign somebody else, or are they looking to the draft to get help?
I think it's a combination of the two, right? I think that you're going to go ahead and need to bring in another big body. You need a run stopper.
100%.
And I like what Jefferson does, but he's more of a rusher from the interior, right? Like this isn't going to be somebody you're going to put there in order for you to go ahead and stop the run, which we already had some struggles with last season. Yes, so we need to create some foundation to get some assistance in the run game. And I think we're going to probably do that in the draft and potentially as well another signing here in free agency relatively soon. But if I have my way, I have a guy in the draft that I really love, and he should fall potentially into the second, maybe if we're lucky later, but I think second is max. Depending on whether or not we get Aaron Rodgers for compensation this season or next season would dictate which route we go that way.
Who's the guy? Tell me a guy.
Mozzie. I'm a big fan of Mozzie, man. He's a big, strong, big-bodied freaking defensive tackle. And he's got right now, I think, currently a second-round grade on him. But that dude is potentially, if you ask me, the the best run stuffer you're going to find in this draft. And if he falls to us with one of our second round picks, if again we get to keep them both, and we're pushing the compensation to Aaron Rodgers later on, and we've already addressed offensive tackle and center, then yeah, I would love to see him picked with the 43rd overall pick.
Now, the question I have for you is, what's up, everybody? Thank you guys for joining us on a Monday. We'll be doing a lot more Monday night shows, just so you guys know, 8 o'clock. Is there a world where the Jets could go defensive tackle in the first round? And I'll tell you right now, I'd probably riot unless like somebody falls. But what are your thoughts on a tackle going in the first round, defensive side?
Man, so for me, there's only one guy that I thought about, and I thought to myself, you know what? If they're going to go defensive tackle in the first round, it would have to be Jalen Carter. Right. Unfortunately, as of late, with his comments about not talking to anybody outside of the top 10, he's not entertaining any kind of interviews. He did have a pretty bad pro day. He showed up unprepared. Now, it's one thing to go ahead and deal with some of the off-field concerns and worries, but showing up to your pro day, this is pretty much a job interview of your life. Yes, and for you to pretty much botch it, it made me very uncomfortable. All the talent in the world means nothing if you're undisciplined and you're not dedicated to your craft. And yes, he was muscling and beating up people in the SEC, which is as close to the NFL as you can get, but it's not the NFL. At this level, everybody's fast, everybody's strong, and they'll knock you on your behind if you're not freaking paying attention or doing what you need to elevate your game. And so because of that, I'm out. I feel like offensive line is so much more important right now. Yep. Jalen Carter is, I think, the best player in this draft. But when you're talking about an individual who potentially may need more babysitting than you would like to, you don't invest the 13th overall pick in that character, in that individual. And because of, I was okay with the issue that he's a young kid, got into the car accident. It sucks, you know what I'm saying, that it costs lives. I was tiptoeing around that thinking, all right, you know what I'm saying, he's a kid, we've all done dumb stuff. But it just seems like it just kept compounding more and more and more since the offseason began. And for me, I took him off my board. So Jalen Carter, to me, would be the only person that I felt if he was to fall to 13, we got to get at the defensive tackle position. But now I'm like, no, you just can't invest that kind of capital in somebody who just doesn't seem to be, at this particular aspect right now, dedicated to his craft. So for me, it's offensive tackle all day.
And that's exactly what you said, exactly why I think the Jets won't go after him, because it goes against everything that Joe Douglas and Saleh talk about. Exactly. Loves the game of football, all about ball, all about hard work, all these different things, the way you carry yourself, the way you present yourself. If they're being completely honest, it seems like they are based on the last couple of drafts. It doesn't look like he fits that mold. I mean, I know they have Clemens and stuff like that, but it just seems like he's going for that high of a value of a pick. I don't think they go that route. So then you look at, position that people are mentioning a lot is wide receiver. The Jets go out and get Hardman. They go out and get Lazard, which I thought were both good signings. You still have Corey Davis, which I think till now, I continue to think Corey Davis is part of the trade package to the Packers, because the Packers keep saying they want a veteran leader at wide receiver. That kind of that's Corey Davis perfectly right there. Right?
In a nutshell.
The Jets went out, they tried to get Beckham Jr. And my first question is, what were your thoughts on OBJ? Did you want him here?
I also was not a fan of the OBJ thing. I know a lot of Jets fans love him, but a lot of that is based off of name alone. OBJ hasn't been relevant in the league since 2017, right? So yes, he had a good run with the Rams in the playoffs, but even in that season, he had 370 yards, 35 receptions. Yeah. He didn't really start showing up until the playoffs, and that's after, of course, having a brain fart, but their wide receiver went down.
Cooper Kupp,
thank you. After he went down, right? So I was not big on the OBJ thing, but I also understand that putting him in a role like wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 role could be a huge benefit to go ahead and add to that wide receiver room. You got Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, you would have OBJ. Yep. At that point, there's no way Corey Davis is on the roster. Denzel Mims is still somebody we don't know what we have because we haven't seen him with a competent quarterback and competent OC, so we're still hoping he can be a wide receiver 4. And I'm a big fan of the McCall Hardman signing. I think that adds a dynamic to the roster where he does everything Braxton Berrios could do, but better, right? And faster. So I like that signing. So I think with an OBJ, you round out your wide receiver room. But I was not going to go ahead and bat an eye if we didn't go for him. Because again, going back to that whole character thing, like culture fit, OBJ just doesn't scream that to me. People are saying, well, that was like way back in the day, but you just saw the video of him just a few months ago refusing to get off of an airplane. Like, and perception is reality. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it looked, but unfortunately, it's what we saw. And in this game, where your brand is who you are, perception is reality. So I wasn't big on the OBJ thing. And when I saw the numbers, there's no freaking way. Man, the amount of roasting the Jets would have gotten, not just by other fan bases at that and other sports writers, but us as fans ourselves. Absolutely. Would have been unbearable for the organization. So for me, I think it was a good call on them walking away from that one. And I will say this though, I think it speaks volumes to just how far this team has come when he got his offer from the Ravens so that he wouldn't go to New York, step foot in New York. He still called Joe and said, hey, this is where they're at. Are you willing to match it? Joe was just like, nah, we're good, bro. Get your money. You're not coming
Rodgers
here.
Effect, man. It's just
facts, right? Like he called and still said, like, they're offering me this much, too much to pass up. So, hey, good on them for getting this money. But for me, for that price point, when I saw the contract, not only was I relieved when I heard he wasn't coming to begin with, I felt even better about it when I saw the contract.
Yeah, I mean, I understood the notion of Beckham. Beckham Jr. I knew that. I knew Aaron Rodgers wanted to play with him. You could see him what kind of role there he wanted to play in this offense. I could see all of it. But to me, it was always came down to money and length of contract. So he got 1 year, fine with me. Don't care about that. Then I saw the money. I'm like, absolutely not. And he saw like the incentives all like, based on catches and yards and such and all this stuff. I'm like, you know what? The one concern I do have though is you're a Garrett Wilson injury away from being a little bit nervous about the wide receiver group, right? So then it's like you go, all right, well, there's DeAndre Hopkins is out there. Well, that got shot to shit because he came out and said, I don't want to play for the Jets. And that little skinny did. He's like, I don't want to go there, which is interesting. So the thing is, do the Jets still need help at wide receiver? And everybody keeps telling me, well, you have Mims, you have this. I'm like, I'm looking for a legitimate guy. And this is me assuming that Corey Davis is getting traded. I don't think he's going to be here. I just don't. No. So if he's out and you want another guy, and it's like, do they try to find somebody else? It's not going to be Hopkins. Do they try to find somebody else? Or they say, you know what? We can go in the draft. And if we're talking draft, could it be at 13? I mean, everybody wants JSN. Is that even feasible?
Okay. I'll say it right now. I want no part of going wide receiver at pick 13. I'm sorry. I don't think in this draft there's legitimately a wide receiver one that's worth being taken in the first round, and that includes JSN. I know a lot of people love him, and I get that, but we're basing this off of what? Because when I went back and I watched the tape, I saw a kid who was going up against cornerback 2, cornerback 3 in Ohio with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave to his left and to his right, and he got the easy matchup every single time. In the only season he's ever had in college that says to us he can play ball was that 1 year he played with those guys. Yep. Right? So 3 years in college, he's got one full season of tape, and everybody loves him. And people will tell you, like, well, those guys both said that he's better than they are. Why wouldn't they say that? They already secured their bag. They already know they were first-round picks. They already know their career was set. Why wouldn't they say that? Even Brian Hartline, when they were asking him about JSN, he said, well, I mean, yeah, good player. And if Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave said that he's better than them, I'm going to go with that. He didn't say it. He didn't give it. I'm going to go with that, he said, right? Yep. So you see a bunch of guys who are supporting their fellow teammate, part of his alma mater, and you got to appreciate that. But in all actuality, when I look at JSN, I feel like the hype is just that. It's hype. Now, if he falls to the second round, I do like what he can do underneath as a slot guy. He's got very strong legs. I don't think he's very athletic. I do think he struggles a little bit trying to find the open spots in the middle of the field where at the next level, that's where you would want him to predominantly go ahead and play. He's not very fast, right? 4.55, 4.56 speed. So this isn't a guy that's going to run away from anybody. So people keep saying like, well, he can run all the routes. Cool. But the reason why a guy like Wilson running all the routes is so effective in the NFL is because he can run all the routes and then still pull away from you. Yeah, he's elusive. Yeah, he's elusive, right? Like, yeah, correct. If you can run all the routes and still give enough time for the DB to catch up to you, does it really matter? Like, what do we? Yeah. So for me, I think the JSN hype is. It's just that it's hype, and I'm not a fan of it. So for me, if it's not wide receiver at 13, I still think Randall Cobb is a good person to bring in here. That's exactly and it'll be a cheap addition, a guy who knows the offense. He's had some injury concerns in times past, but you're not asking him to be wide receiver 1 or even wide receiver 2, right? Somebody that come in here, talk to these guys, tell the Garrett Wilson, the Denzel Mims, Mecole Hardman, hey, this is what A-Rod likes. This is what he likes to go for. So him and Alan Lazard in itself, just in their experience with A-Rod, can go so far. And it's a cheap option, affordable, that can have impact. And at this point, that's where I think we're at. I don't think us putting a premium pick to add another wide receiver in this year's draft makes any sense when the offensive line is a dire need. It's a must. You got to fix it in this draft. To go out and spend a luxury pretty much, bring another wide receiver in. People keep also forgetting we've got tight ends who can catch. Like we have tight ends who can catch, running backs that can catch. Carter Briggs, they can catch the ball. Like people keep thinking like, well, who's going to be the targets? There's a lot of mouths to feed on this roster. People don't realize it, but they are playmakers at every skill position for the New York Jets. Something we couldn't say in the past. We can literally say that now. So Aaron Rodgers can be the key to unlocking all that talent.
Yeah, see, I think that's very well said, man. I think there's two things that we're not used to, in theory. A great quarterback and an offensive coordinator that can actually scheme guys open, and the offense is actually going to work. It's a lot different. Like if we've just been beaten over the head with such poor offense and such poor quarterback play. We're so worried about having elite playmakers everywhere.
Exactly.
And I think Cobb is definitely the guy, dude. I just kind of think he's going to be the guy, too. I'm hoping for more. I definitely don't go receiver at 13. I would be annoyed by that. We'll talk about why in a little bit, but I agree with you, man. I can see Cobb. I have less faith in Mims than most people. I think he's going to get like a third chance here with the new quarterback and coordinator. I still question just his desire to play football and what he can do and just be more consistent. Like he could come in great shape. He can do all these things, but he's got to be a much more consistent player, on the field and off the field. So you look at wide receiver, I think we're going to be okay. Running back is interesting because I love Zonovan Knight. I like Michael Carter more than most. I don't understand all the hatred for him. I think he's still a good player. Breece Hall, it's great to see him back, but I don't think to expect anything him right off the bat week 1 is probably asking for a lot. And I'm not rooting against him. I love him, but I just don't think it's going to probably take probably week 5, week 6. They brought back Ty Johnson. Okay. He came on to the end of the last year, which I'm not a really big fan of him. Do you look to somebody like, I like Fournette for some reason, a guy like that, a Kareem Hunt. Do you look to add another guy into the mix now, or do you wait till training camp, see if any injuries pop up, and then make a move?
For me, I'm with you. I think Fournette is the one guy that I do like a lot in this group. And Kareem Hunt, I like him too, but I think he's going to be too expensive. I think he's going to cost too much money to bring him in.
Wait a minute, you're everywhere now? Is this true? You've been everywhere?
Wait, where? I'm not sure where. I mean, last night I was with Buffalo Jet fan. I'm with you. I guess technically, I'm with you now. I'm on the Green Bean Show. So yeah, I'm
definitely getting for this.
I'm getting some love right now. Oh nah, brother, I'm telling you, man, the fee is on me because this is all joy for me. I'm enjoying this, so I appreciate that. I should be paying you. But I think Kareem Hunt is out of the question, right? To answer your question, I think he's out of the question because of how much money he would probably demand. Yeah. Not to mention, I kind of have got the feeling like with the whole Nick Chubb situation, he's been wanting to be running back 1 for quite some time. But there's some options I think that could potentially be available for us in the draft as well and in later rounds. A guy like a Devon Achane, I think is a good fit potentially, or even a guy like Tank Bigsby, right? That can potentially fall back into that 4th round range, 5th round range. So I think it's not out of the question that the Jets bring in another running back in either in the draft or in the offseason. Right. But to your point, I think it makes more sense to just kind of wait it out into the draft, right? Like why go ahead and jump the gun now? There's going to be some running back that doesn't make the roster that can be, a placeholder for us for a couple of weeks until Breece Hall is 100%. Although all the indications have stated that he's going to be ready for week 1. And I think I'm glad you brought it up because, yes, I've heard a lot of Jets fans saying we don't need to worry about running back because he says he's going to be fine for week 1. Yep. The thing coming back from an ACL injury, it's not just about the physical aspect of it. It's the mental, right? Sir. Now, the good thing for us is with Breece, it was a contact injury that allowed him to go ahead and tear his ACL. Otherwise, a non-contact, which oftentimes can make, a running back or a wide receiver, somebody who depends on the ability to cut, more and more hesitant. So we should see him coming back pretty quickly. But it's still one of those things where he might be physically good to go, but mentally he's not until week 3, week 4, after taking a couple of hits and then seeing that he's good. So having somebody there to supplement the running back room is a great idea. It's a must. You got to do it.
Yeah, and like I said, we can't expect Breece Hall to come back week 1 and be like back to where he was last year. Like, take off. We want it's going to take time, man. And so now, what is your take on Michael Carter, man? Because rookie year, everybody loved him. Last year was disappointing. I thought he was banged up, man. I thought something went wrong there, and I think he was trying to play through it or just whatever it was. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a bounce back year from him. Like I don't and I know the whole social media problem with the Jet fans attacking him and blocking people and shit. I like Michael Carter, man. I think he's a good team guy. He's a quality back. He's not Hall, but he's still a good player.
100%. I think Michael Carter is a starting running back in the NFL. And I do think there was something off about his game last year, too. He didn't admit to being injured, but there's no way. He just seemed a step slower. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't seem like himself. My concerns with him right now that make me pause a little bit is, taking all the New York Jets stuff off of your social media, right? Yeah. Getting upset that they traded your boy to Cleveland. I get it. That's your boy. He got traded. But just some of the putting us at a distance, so to speak, the organization and the fans at a distance, so to speak, ever since that happened. That, to me, speaks to mentality a little bit. And, again, we were just talking about this. The mentality aspect of this game is so important, so key. Yeah. It worries me. You know what I'm saying? Great character guy. You know what I'm saying? He's like a heartbeat on the offense. The guy's upbeat. I love the guy. But, again, he's given some concern as to, giving us a little concern right now in regards to his focus, I guess, when it comes to us. Was he a Jet because his boy was on the team, or was he a Jet because he wants to be a Jet, right? Like, these are kind of things we're kind of having to bring into question. So I'm hoping that it's just, us worried for nothing, and that he comes back and he's good. I think he could hold the fort down. A healthy Michael Carter, I think, can hold the fort down for the New York. In fact, before we got Breece Hall last year, I was adamant that he was running back one on the roster. I like him. Yeah, I like him a lot, right? So if that's the case, we're putting ourselves in a situation to where we don't need, a high ceiling kind of a player to come in to be a placeholder until Breece Hall gets back. Just a high floor guy, that's going to go ahead and move the chains a little bit, maybe get you 3-4 yards a touch. Yep. And that's not asking for a lot, which means you can get a bunch of those guys, during training camp as you're getting cut. But I'm hoping Michael Carter right now is more upset and trying to go ahead and prove a point and come back angry, vice, this being who he really is.
And I thought Zonovan Knight showed a lot of great things last year, man, in opportunities. Like, he turns the corner, he takes off, he is explosive. Zonovan Knight looked like he's like a skinnier guy, but he's dragging defenders. I think the Jets running back room is fine. Like, I wouldn't mind adding like a Fournette, like a short yardage guy, or like a veteran guy there, like to kind of be like that, the grinder if you have to have that, which is fine. But before we go to the next one, we have a question for Gunny. Who is your all-time favorite Jet, and your favorite Jet now?
All-time favorite Jet, man. I'm gonna have to be cliche about it, man. I think for me it's Darrelle Revis. I'm not gonna lie to you. To me it was just so fun to be a part of that era of having the number one freaking defensive player in the NFL on your team, right? Everybody, talked about the Jets. It was Darrelle Revis first and then the Jets. It was what my go-to whenever I had to argue with other fan bases about how we sucked here. Hey, yo, you know what, though? Your wide receiver can't do nothing against us. With Revis, that was my go-to every single time. Yep. So Darrelle Revis made us legitimate during some real tough years. And as somebody who likes to talk a lot of crap, he gave me something to talk crap about, right? So I got to go with Revis because of that aspect. And now, man, how can you not love Sauce? How can you not love Sauce? Like, Sauce to me embodies what it means to be a Jet, right? This guy got the swagger about him, the mentality, the confidence, the nickname. Like, literally, his name is not Sauce. It's not Sauce. Like, it's Ahmad Gardner. But everybody in the league has already deemed this man to be Sauce. Whereas when it was Darrelle Revis, he was referred to as Revis Island. So, to me, yeah, man, it's Darrelle Revis because he gave me a lot to talk. When I was old enough to start talking crap to people, he gave me something to talk crap about. And then now, man, it's just Sauce. Watching him play last year, man, it was special. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Revis and Sauce.
That's I'll go. My favorite Jet now is easily Sauce because he has that swagger and he's only get better. He's one of the best in football. He loves being a Jet. He embraces all the fans. He's always giving back to the fans, which is super important. My all-time favorite, probably got a tie. I'm older, so Aaron Glenn was my guy. I loved Aaron Glenn. That was a guy that he was undersized, but he was like a shutdown corner before shutdown corners were out there. I mean, he was like that, he was good. And then Curtis Martin, because
Curtis Martin, that's a good one.
Yeah, because Curtis was the cool thing about Curtis, I used to go to practice all the time at Hofstra and wherever else. Curtis, after every practice, always signed autographs, talked to the fans. Before the games, in the parking lot, before the game, signed autographs. After the game, win or lose, after the game, would face all the fans, hang out. You could see him lipping out. Like, he played hurt. He played with both ankles hurt. He was his, the perseverance and determination to play the game of football. And then you hear his story, and then we went out to Canton for his Hall of Fame speech, which was just a legendary speech, just how raw and emotional it was. So for me, it's, Aaron, Glenn, and Curtis. I mean, that's just, Curtis was something else, man.
If I had to give you a second guy, it's going to be weird. People are going to think that's how DeBrickashaw Ferguson would probably be my second all-time fave, right? Like, I love Brick. Like, that dude was another one. A staple on our offensive line, a man just shoot muscle, consistent, always there. But, like, DeBrickashaw Ferguson, I had a couple of, I still have DeBrickashaw Ferguson jerseys. Like, that was another one, him and Revis, if I had to give you two guys. But Curtis Martin is right there as well on my Mount Rushmore of New York Jets. 100%. So, like, that's just one of those dogs. Like, and like you said, his character was above reproach. Nothing but class, man. That dude was different. That good one, Curtis Martin. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I loved him, man. It's just like, I'll never forget this funny story. So, this is like at a Hofstra at the practice. They always walk up to the fence, sign autographs, take pictures.
Right.
So he signed I had like a helmet or something. He signed it. He took a quick picture, right? And then as he walked by, I'm like, oh shit. He looked over. What's the matter? He's like, what's the matter? I was like, the picture didn't come out, man. The thing that this is like, older, right? He's like, I'll be right back, man. I'm like, what? He's like, I'll come right back. Don't worry about it. I'm like you're Curtis Martin, dude. Like, seriously? Dude, sure as hell. 5 minutes later, he started to walk away. I'm like, yeah, he ain't come. Dude, he came back. He's like, everything cool now? I'm like, yep. Took another picture. I'm like, that's class, dude.
Oh, nah. Yeah. That's got to be. I can understand. There's no way that's not your favorite guy. That makes a statement right there. That makes a statement.
Yeah, it was all. Yeah, Curtis was he was just so great with the fans, and then just the way he played the game, man. His will to win, his desire to win, that leadership and that tenacity carried over to the team, man. Like, they all listen. If he's playing with 2 hurt ankles, if my thumb hurts, how am I not playing? Like, I'm playing. Like, he fit that Parcells mentality so well. So it was awesome. So we covered running back. An interesting position for me is tight end, because we hear a lot of people talking about the Jets may draft a tight end. And I'm like, here's an idea. How about we use who we have first? Because we didn't even use Ruckert last year. He didn't even play last year. And you could say there was times that, Conklin and Zuma were grossly underutilized. Mm-hmm. Conklin was kind of erratic with his catching and stuff. But, I mean, we have good players now. Like, I understand the whole, I'm a Notre Dame guy. So if you want to talk about Meyer, I can talk about him for days and give you a speech and create his fan club if you want. But to me, I don't see tight end as a need. I just think we have to see what we have. We know we have 2 guys, potentially 3.
Yeah, I'm with you 1,000%. And again, same here. I've been hearing it a lot. We need to get a time. We need to get a time. Like, why? What? The tight end room is one of our strengths. We don't know that because they were, like you said, underutilized last year. Yep. But all the metrics state that Jeremy Ruckert should translate pretty well to the NFL. Yep. We already know CJ Uzomah can play in this league. We already know Conklin can play in this league. We just massively underutilized him last year. We've got a really good tight end room. I mean, dare I say it, we might have a top 5 tight end room with proper freaking quarterback play and proper utilization. Exactly. I don't get but again, I've been hearing it too, and I'm just like, but why? And I think it's more about, like you said, we're just so terrified as Jets fans to like, oh my God, we need elite players at every single position in order for us to be relevant. And that's just not how teams are built. Like, you're not going to have an elite player at every position on a roster. It doesn't happen. You can have good players. Good players can also win you championships. That's the thing. And we've got some good tight ends. And we don't even know how good they can be because we haven't actually seen them play wearing gang green. We just haven't seen it.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's what I'm hoping, like the Hackett factor and the Rodgers factor makes the players that we have that were kind of underutilized, we don't know what they are, changes a lot of perception, a lot of things. Like you mentioned earlier, it was a great point about the wide receivers. Like, all right, you know what? I'm kind of a little bit nervous with the talent there, but you can line up Ruckert out there. You can do different things, maximize the potential of your roster. Like, we didn't really do that last year, which was driving me completely crazy. So you're like, all right, tight end group I'm fine with, but now here comes the concerns. And probably the biggest concerns on the team for me personally is right now, as we speak today, was it April 17th? We don't have a center. So, so the first thing is like, the whole Ben Jones thing is what everybody's talking about. Many are kind of saying maybe he's waiting until the Rodgers trade is done before he signs here. Maybe he's waiting for that. Maybe he wants to go somewhere else. Maybe the money's just too high. But the Jets are kind of slow playing that market, which was interesting. So they went after Brendel, but didn't get him. But what's the option at center, man? I don't think McGovern's coming back for some reason. I think they moved on from him. Is it Ben Jones? Do you go to the draft? Because then you look at, does Aaron Rodgers want to play with a rookie center? And my guess is probably no, right?
So this is my take on that. I think center, like you said before, right now as it currently stands, we don't have a starting caliber NFL center on our roster. We just don't. Right. We've got a couple of guys who can go ahead and spot start for us if need be because they're versatile, but we don't have a starting center. And I do think Ben Jones is still in play, right? I think he's still in play. But in this situation, I think that even if we do sign a Ben Jones, and to me, with that one of those second round picks has got to be a center. It's just got to be a center. I don't see how we leave this class because they've got some players in this class that can play the center position. I know a lot of people are going to talk about JMS. JMS is the undisputed #1 center in this draft, and I get it. I understand why. You've seen him dominate in Minnesota for the last 2 seasons. Yep. But my concern with JMS is this. He's 24 years old. He's one of the older prospects coming out. So he's already at full man size. He's at man size, right? Yep. This isn't a 21 or 22-year-old guy. He's at man size. And I think the offensive scheme kind of hit him a little bit in terms of some of his hindrances. And I think people don't look at that because they just see the numbers, and I get that. But for me, I don't think JMS is going to be there with one of those picks. And I'm okay with that. And I know some people say, hey, get him at 13. You're out of your freaking mind.
No way.
If you're going center at 13. Yep. So I think the pick is going to be Tyler Whippler in the second round. I love Tyler Whippler. I think he's my center one. I think the guy has nothing but he has a high ceiling and a high floor. I think with his ability to go ahead and move, you can't teach athleticism. You can't teach. He's got the hands that once he puts his hands on you, you're not separating, right? He's got a hold of you. He can go ahead and make plays in the second level as well. Like he's a guy you can run behind if need be. His play strength and his size needs to come up a little bit. We get that. But I think he's a high IQ guy. I think he's got all the athletic gifts you can ever want in a center. And I think with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, a lot of people are saying, why would he want to do that? But why wouldn't we want to put, a center with him now that can potentially, hey, Aaron, how do you want it? And Aaron can literally mold this kid into whatever the hell he wants him to be. Yep. Right? And a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who we all know is kind of narcissistic and kind of wants to be in control of how things are in this offense, here's a center that is going to be able to start day one, mold him. How you want the ball snapped, how you want him freaking like scanning the defense, how you want him calling play. Like, to me, it just makes more sense to bring somebody that's already coming into the NFL looking for guidance, looking for direction. And imagine the benefit we'll have having one of those young centers being taught by an NFL first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback what to look for, how to go ahead and read defenses, how to make adjustments. Imagine him being the assistant for who takes, Rodgers' place after the fact. So it just makes so much sense for me, man. So I do like JMS, and if they go that route too, I would understand. I think he's probably the quickest, most steady, like plug and play guy. But I do believe his ceiling is significantly lower than Tyler Whippler, and that's why I prefer him. Some people say Tippmann. Tippmann is he's this big guy, man. I think he's like 6'5", 6'6". Usually when you got centers that big, man, that's a concern in terms of leverage. And just in general, he's in the middle of the field. Aaron Rodgers, 6'2"? Like you're talking about your center being, and to me, I just feel like that could cause its own level of concern at the next level when, again, the players are faster and they're stronger. They move quicker. So imagine him getting stood up right in front of the quarterback, right? So I have my concerns about him. But am I going to be mad if they feel he's the guy? No. I just think that right now, if I'm Joe Douglas, I'm going to try to get Ben Jones in here for the next year or two. Or if not, that's fine. I'll get one of these top centers with my only pick in round 2 because the other one's going to be gone to get Aaron Rodgers and let Aaron Rodgers mold his center how he wants to mold his center.
Yeah, and it's funny because over the years, I feel like every draft class, we always fall in love with a center. Like the last 3 or 4 years, we've always wanted a center, like a top 2 rounds. We'd argue on them. We'd talk towards like a first round, second round, we got to get him. We always pass on them. And a lot of them are like Pro Bowlers now, too, which is freaking
We haven't missed. As a fan base, we have not missed. Every center we've been dying for them to draft has been a hit at the next level.
We're arguing about this shit. We know we're talking when it comes to centers. We know, but I'm kind of in your boat where I kind of want to double dip. I want Jones and I want to draft somebody. Let Jones mold him. Kind of until we have our center for the future. Like I want to anchor here for the next 10 years. You don't want to every 2 or 3 years keep like a real in and out. I want to get a guy. So I completely agree with you there. And I'm just wondering if the Jones thing is tied to the Rodgers thing. He wants to make sure the trade is done. Once they announce it, he follows suit. But we'll see.
It's possible he hasn't gone to talk to any of the teams since the Jets. So, there's to me that indicates there's interest there. What's the holdup? And what you say makes perfect sense. He's waiting to make sure Aaron Rodgers is legitimately going to be here because he's got maybe a couple more years left in him. I don't think he wants to go ahead and play for a team that doesn't have a chance to be a competitor.
Right.
And with Aaron Rodgers, we're competitors.
Yeah, a lot of things make sense to have him come here. So then you look at, which to me is probably the biggest concern of the offensive line is the tackle position, where Dwayne Brown, older, coming off an injury, that's a concern. The right side, you have Becton, who looks phenomenal, in excellent shape, hasn't played in 2 years, and Max Mitchell behind him coming off his situation. So it's like the offensive line's a work in progress, man. I don't have an overwhelming sense of confidence. So for me, people call me crazy, dude. Pick number 13. The Jets still have it. I'm taking a tackle. The 100%. Best one. That's it. Like I need depth. You got to start building, man. Like this is the time is now. You got to protect Rodgers. You got to have a line going forward. To me, that's where I'm starting with it.
1,000%. If the Jets go any other route, unless they trade it back or do that whole pick swap thing with the Packers, and then it's 15, but whatever. The 13 or 15, whatever it is, it's an offensive tackle. The best one available, you're going to get. You got to get them. You got to get them. I think, yes, on paper, our offensive line last year, we all felt really damn good about it. But, hey, at the end of the day, they got to actually get on the field and play ball. And that was the issue. They couldn't stay on the field to play ball. And going into this year again with the same offensive tackle, I'd lose my shit. Excuse my French, but I would lose my shit,
you
man.
Curse
I just,
this, though, man. We curse here.
You cannot. There's no fucking way. You go into this season, and offensive tackle is not the priority. Right? It's got to be the priority. Last year, they're getting Sauce. I was happy about the Sauce pick. I thought we were going to go potentially edge rusher with the 10th overall. We went Garrett Wilson. Not mad at it. We got Jermaine Johnson. Happy about that. I was hoping we got an offensive lineman somewhere along in the first round. Didn't happen, but I'm not mad at it. Love the picks now, obviously in hindsight. Love them now. But this year, don't play around. If you're bringing in Aaron Rodgers right now and we're making a push to potentially get a ring, the offensive line can't be in shambles again. You just can't do it. You cannot duct tape your offensive line together and say, hey, Aaron Rodgers, go figure it out. No. And again, if those guys are healthy, people are like, well, what if you get an offensive tackle and then freaking Dwayne Brown is healthy and the big ticket is healthy and everybody's freaking great. Fucking great.
We got depth.
Awesome. We've got depth now? Oh, my God. I'm so upset that we freaking got somebody learning behind. Bro, I don't understand the logic behind that. Like, well, we're wasting a pick. Did we? It's one of the most important positions on your team. And to have depth at that position, and I'm sorry, your first rounder from a few years ago stayed healthy and he balls out. Dwayne Brown decided to come back and he balls out. Dwayne Brown is not playing for 5-6 more years, guys. He's got maybe a year left.
Maybe a year.
Maybe a year and a half left in him. So drafting an offensive tackle is a need. There's no way you can go ahead and cut it up. And the argument of if everybody's healthy, this offensive line is a top 10 line. On paper, potentially, yeah. But what's the harm of having depth back there? Because it is football. It's not a matter of if they get hurt. It's just a matter of when. So, you cannot get out of the first round this year and not have offensive tackle help. Can't do it.
I had the same reaction, like, oh, what if he doesn't play this year? So what?
Who cares?
That means Dwayne Brown's playing at a very high level. That means Mekhi Beck's playing at a very high level. And guess what? He's learning and can sit back and become a force next year because Dwayne Brown's probably not going to be here. And guess what? Mekhi Beck is a player for a contract. He could be gone too for all we know. We don't know.
Exactly.
He picked up his option yet. Like, there's no guarantees here, man. I want you got to find building blocks, man. To me, some of the reactions, I'm like, what? Like, this is no. It's crazy. So we covered offensive line. We covered mostly offense. Here's a position I'm curious to get your take on is the safety position. Because to me, safety is interesting because I was a Jordan Whitehead guy. I loved the signing. I thought he was going to have a huge impact on the defense. And it didn't really happen. A lot of missed tackles, a lot of blown assignments. So if you're looking for cap space, he could be one of the guys. But he also could be considered probably like your veteran leader in the backfield, maybe. Right. And then you have Clay Broding. They traded for Clark. You have Tony Adams. You have that. Don't have a tremendous amount of speed back there at safety, unless you want to believe in the Ashton Davis thing for another year in a row, which I don't. So
I'm done with that.
What is your take on the safety position, man? Do you think Whitehead stays, or do you think he's a cap casualty and they go in a different direction?
I think I think if we're going to lose Whitehead, we would have already lost Whitehead. I just kind of see him being on this roster. And as you stated, that he's going to be that leadership presence that hopefully he can return to form a little bit in terms of elevating his play. Now, just so we're clear, right? A lot of the things that Whitehead did that pissed off Jets fans, this is something he's done also in Tampa Bay, right? This is a guy that he didn't not show his cards. We knew who we were getting.
Right.
But usually he can go ahead and offset it with some impactful plays. And we didn't really get a lot of that this past season. And I think that's what made it worse for us. Like, okay, we expected you to make the mistakes you usually make, but where are the impactful plays that usually offset it? We didn't see that. I think the Jets really like Tony Adams, man. I feel like they feel comfortable with adding Chuck Clark, which I'm a huge fan of, by the way. That was a home run trade by Joe Douglas. I don't know how that happened or how he pulled that one off, but this is a guy who doesn't get off the field. He's a leader back there as well, coming from a defensive scheme that's been top 10, you know what I'm saying, in the NFL for quite some time. So you're getting somebody with the experience, the mindset, and I love the Chuck Clark pickup. But I don't think they go safety, man. I think they're comfortable with their safety room. I think that they see something in Tony Adams that I know he was kind of a fan favorite in the preseason, but I don't think any of us were sitting here like he's got to be a starter or anything like that. But here we are, and I think they feel potentially he can go ahead and add some depth there or bring some playmaking ability in the backfield. But when you have guys like DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner and Michael Carter the third, like, you can go ahead and be okay or average at the safety position. Those guys showed us this past season that they were still able to go ahead and dominate and shut down plays without a lot of help from the safety position. But yeah, I'm one of those guys that I'm like, you know what? Because of our cornerbacks, I'm okay with our safeties. If they don't make a move, I'm not going to get upset about it. There's something about Tony Adams they obviously feel really good about. I mean, Tony Adams is what, 6'1", 205, 210. He's like 22, 23 years old, young guy. There's still potential for him to go ahead and show us what he's about, and they believe that's possibly the case. I'm okay with it because, again, Chuck Clark coming in is an improvement right there in our safety room. That's already an improvement. And it's not as if our secondary needed that much more of an improvement coming into the season. So for me, I'm okay with it as is. I don't see us, pursuing anybody right now in free agency unless somebody shakes free. Like you said, in training camp, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe a ball hawk safety we could probably pick up outside training camp. And I'd be cool with that. But I don't think we need to spend premium picks or even a pick really in the draft. The individuals who would potentially be ball hawks anyway, you're talking about maybe six-round draft picks, and how impactful can they potentially be in year one in this kind of a defensive scheme where it's a little bit more complex, and we're looking to go ahead and make a move like now. So, yeah, man, I think I'm okay with the safety room, but maybe I'm in the minority. But again, if, like I said before, a ball hawking safety shakes free at an affordable price in training camp, then just bring them in. It can't hurt.
Now, what are your thoughts on the linebacker position? Because you have C.J. Mosley, he played at a very good level last year. Quincy Williams coming back. Quan, as of today, is not re-signed yet. I don't think he signed anywhere else, but I don't think so. What do you think about the linebacker room, man? It seems like they have a lot of faith in Sherwood. They like Nasruddin. Do you feel comfortable with that? Do they go out and sign somebody? Like, what do they do?
I won't lie. I'm nervous about the linebacker room. I think we need some help back there. C.J. Mosley is, again, obviously the general back there, but he's not the athlete he used to be, right? So he's continued to go ahead and make some plays, and he's also cost us a couple plays as well. So as he's getting up there, I think it's good time for us to find potentially what his replacement is going to look like. But this is another position group that I feel like they feel pretty comfortable about. I think Quan does come back. He hasn't gotten a lot of nibbles out there in free agency, so I think Quan potentially does come back, maybe $3 million, $4 million, whatever that's going to look like. But it's another position group that I just feel like they're comfortable with it, right? You haven't heard much in the offseason or in pursuits of anybody. There's not a lot of chatter coming out there about potential individuals in the draft. One dude I love a lot in the draft is Jack Campbell, but I don't think Campbell's going to be available to us in round 4 because he's not a second rounder in my opinion. Right. He's more of a late second rounder, maybe a third rounder. We don't have a third round pick, so round 4 maybe. If he was to drop, that would be a blessing. But other than that, the rest of the guys to me Henley's not going to be available to us. What's the kid? Nick Herbig, the Wisconsin Badgers kid. Now, coming out of Wisconsin, you know what I'm saying? You kind of like a group of individuals who are really good when it comes to defensive players. Linebackers are also pretty good coming out of there. Strong kid, well-rounded defender. I would like him maybe in the fourth round if he falls to the fourth round. But again, I just get the feeling that we think it's an issue, but they don't. So I don't think they're going to make any kind of exciting moves at all. I think they're quite comfortable with their linebacker room, and that makes me a little uneasy. But again, maybe.
I'm like my thing with the Jets always seems like their sideline to sideline speed. That it seems like on defense, like obviously a good pass rush hides a lot of things, but
it does.
You know, covering the running backs, covering tight ends, like the big splash plays, all this. It just seems like sideline to sideline speed's always been an issue. And I'm worried. Look, obviously Quincy Williams flies. His angles sometimes aren't ideal. He has a lot of splash plays. Some plays you're like, what are we doing here? But he's your speed guy. Mosley obviously is not the guy he used to be, and that's where you're like, get that young hybrid linebacker or the young guy just flies around hitting people in cover, do some things. And that's kind of why I was talking about safety a little bit too. Is like that up the middle right there. You kind of I just want that. You know what I mean? Like I think that's probably what ideally you want Ashton Davis to be that guy can run around and make a great athlete, and that didn't pan out. But you understand, like, so maybe you get that at linebacker, you get it at safety, like somewhere else where just implement some speed up the middle somewhere.
Like I saw somebody in the chat ask me about Henley, and literally everything you just said is why Henley would be freaking awesome. He's probably arguably the fastest linebacker in this class. The guy flies, and he flies to the ball. That sideline to sideline speed, he has it in abundance. But I think he's gonna go in the second round. I like him probably. He's like my 1B linebacker, but I just man, he's fun to watch. I'm glad he brought it up because you were just talking about the sideline speed, and I'm like, man, Henley is fun to watch. You watch his tape, man, this kid is good. But unfortunately, man, I just don't think he's going to be available to us. In fact, if he makes it out of the first round, I'll be kind of surprised just because of how versatile he could be in the middle of your field. So, yeah, great prospect. Love his tape. He would feel like everything Tyson was just saying. Having somebody in the middle that get you that silent speed, he feels that. But he's not going to be available to us. And again, I don't think I'd feel comfortable with going that route with the 1 second rounder we're going to have. I'd still rather go interior offensive lineman in the center.
You have time for a couple more questions? I got like 3 more questions.
But yeah, brother, 100%. Send them.
So we talked about, obviously a lot of defensive side of the ball. Now, last year, Jets had a very good defense. They kind of faltered towards the end, which pissed me off to no end. But, going into this season, a lot of people are like, Jets have a top 5 defense. The Jets are going to be this, Jets are going to be that. And to me, I'm like, pump the brakes a little bit because I'm not so sure it's going to be like that. There's a chance they could step back this year as opposed to last year. It may not be as pretty as last year. But the one good thing is hopefully you have an offense that actually can move the ball and control time of possession. So defense isn't on the field forced to make all these big-time plays and get off the field, drive after drive after drive. What is your, as of today, with they can make moves with the draft and other free agents, but as of today, your thoughts on the Jets defense? Probably not going to be not top 5, dude.
Okay, people. Again, we're gonna get a lot of flack for this because we're gonna be too good about Tyson. But I agree with you 1,000%. Love what the defense did. Huge step from where they were at the year before, and we're not scrubs. We're not scrubs by any means. But I'm more in the realm of believing they might be a top 10 defense next year, and this is why. You're talking about a team that faced off against 7 backup quarterbacks this offseason. 7 backup quarterbacks. Then we went up against an injured Josh Allen. Not our problem. He was still injured, right, in our division. And that is in our favor. Not to mention, we were one of the healthiest defenses in the entire league. 100%. In the entire NFL, we were one of the healthy. I'm sorry, I just don't see that happening again next year. That level of fortune that we got, that we lost Quinnen Williams for 1 game. Not to mention when we all saw that injury, we thought he was done for the season. And I thought he was done for the season. It was 1 game. We were blessed beyond measure on health on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that if we are expecting that again next year, we're in for a massive disappointment. And if we're expecting to face off against that many backup quarterbacks again next year, we're in for a massive disappointment. I think the level of competition that we're going to go ahead and face this year in terms of quality quarterback play is going to be elevated. And I think that's going to go ahead and force this defense to really get tested. And there are some soft spots in this defense. Like, there are some soft spots. I think the safety room, even with Chuck Clark, is still a soft spot. We did struggle mightily in the run game last year. Like, it wasn't like we were freaking, saying that we were exposed. Screen passes were still an issue somehow. Don't know how that's set up, but it was an issue somehow. So we've got weaknesses, and I'm with you, man. Top 5 next year, I think, would be a dream, but it's unrealistic. I think more top 10 is where the New York Jets fall into next season.
Yeah, and this is a great point by Jomo. Just creating turnovers was a big problem last year.
Yeah,
and to me, it seemed like towards the end of the year, teams are figuring out how to attack this defense. They figured it out. They found out where the holes were, and they kept going after it and after it. And I kind of think Saleh and Ulbrich are a little stubborn in some ways where they don't really adjust. They kind of like, you know what, we're gonna step it up.
This is the game plan. This is what we're
right. That's kind of right. But that's kind of how I feel about it. Whereas like you're watching it, it's like, all right, you know what the team's gonna do, and we're still not stopping it. What are you doing to change it? You're just, well, we're gonna play better. We got to, like they change our rotations, and it's kind of annoying. And that before we go into all the Aaron Rodgers stuff is, to me, there is a tremendous amount of pressure on Robert Saleh this year for 2 reasons. The first is for the defense, because this defense can't have a huge drop off. That's the first thing. You want to see them kind of, figure out ways to, improve and get better and offset with how teams are going to attack them. The second thing is managing expectations with a Hall of Fame quarterback, and the expectations from many where it's like, we want to see a run through the playoffs. Like, this is not, once Aaron Rodgers is in the mix, this is not a 7-win team. Like, the expectation is 10, 11 wins, playoffs, make a run. Like, that's it, dude. Like, you can't be blowing time management. You can't be, doing stupid game management stuff. Like, he's got to be on point this year, man. I think he's facing a tremendous amount of pressure going into this year. What do you think?
No, 100%. 100%. I think in this particular situation, we want to see him take that next step. And we could be honest, from year 1 to year 2, we saw him take a step. But there were, I'm going to say that, which game was that? Freaking horrible. Come on, Jesse. Zach threw that beautiful pass to Elijah Moore, got down for the first down, but there was no time on the clock because what game was that? You know what I'm talking about? That game, that was all on Saleh. That was 100% on time management, because the way the momentum was going in that game, that was a W. I believe that with every fiber of my being. That was a W. But your coach was the Lions game. Thank you. But your coach decided that, he was not going to go ahead and pay attention to the clock as he should have, and that was costly. And that Patriots game too, with that last minute blunder to go ahead and lose us the first one. That's an error on the coach. I'm sorry, that's the coach, right? The coach dropped the ball, and he needs to get better, because it's the NFL. It's a game of inches. And those 2 games could have literally been the difference of making the playoffs. Literally, those 2 games.
But to me, I agree with those points. Him not taking Zach out in the New England game drove me crazy. It was obviously kid didn't have it. But that was, you should have benched at halftime. This isn't hindsight. We were saying it as it was happening.
As it was happening,
kid doesn't have it. Like, that was obvious. But to me, the most inexcusable stuff is with the playoffs on the line, not showing up at home against the Jaguars. Inexcusable.
That was insane.
The game against Seattle. Yeah. That's on leadership, dude. That's on leadership. That's on motivation. That's on having the team in your hands, saying, I have you here, chomping at the bit, let's go get it. And they were flattered in pancakes, dude. It was like, you're watching it like, how is this? We haven't sniffed the playoffs in 11 years or 10 years, whatever it is, and this is how you're coming out? And then you get a second chance to do it again, and you still play like shit. It's like, that to me set me back, man.
It goes back to what you were just saying, right? It's almost as if, and I watched those games and I sat there and I'm like, did these guys practice this week? Was there any kind of game plan that happened this week? And I won't lie, I'm a big Saleh fan, right? I love a guy that I feel like I would follow him into a burning building, but there needs to be some strategy involved with that hoorah mentality of motivational speeches and all that shit, right? You need to have strategy to go behind it. You're the head coach, man. Like, it's your job to make sure your team's prepared. You're supposed to be going over this offensive game plan. Yeah, the defense looked great. Oftentimes, I felt like the offense just was, we all said it, stagnant, non-existent. We were calling plays from our couches as if we were freaking the OC. It was ridiculous. And I felt like there was a lack of accountability in that aspect. And I don't think he held I don't think he held his offensive Mike LaFleur accountable for some of that stuff. I mean, like you said before, why was Zach Wilson still out there? Those are things where you, as the coach, strategically speaking, yeah, the motivational shit is awesome, but at some point or another, they're jeopardizing the mission. You got to pull that dude. You got to pull that dude, and he didn't do that. So I'm hoping in year 3 he's figured it out, because I think in that aspect, if you don't see a step forward, yeah, he could potentially be on the hot seat. Yeah, can Aaron Rodgers mask a lot of that stuff? He can. He can, but in all actuality, it's still something for us to be mindful of.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. I just think some of the situational stuff, and the one thing that we always talked about was we want a CEO type coach, right? You want a guy that's going to be, he oversees the offense, he oversees the defense, and then he steps in when he has to. I honestly don't think he ever stepped in on the offensive side of the ball and said, you know what, this play call right here is shit. Don't run the ball 4 times in a row. We got to throw it you knew.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm old, dude. I know Parcells listened to both sides, and Parcells would say, listen, if I'm going to lose, I'm losing with my plays. So if you're going to call some play and I don't like it, guess what you do? You're not calling that play. You're calling my play.
Not calling that play.
My game, my team, my win, my loss. This is how it's going to go. I don't think Saleh does that or did that last year. How he handles it with Hackett, I don't know. But, that is my concern with him. Game on the line. Like just say playoffs on the line. Your level of confidence in Saleh going against McDermott or Andy Reid or whatever, like these guys, like these big time coaches, it's like he still has to get to that level where you're like, you know what? We know we had the better coach on the field, not better than Andy Reid, but like, can he be the better coach than a McDermott, a McDaniel, whoever? It's just, he's got a lot to prove, man. Some of his game management, situational awareness, punting with, 4th and 20 from the I'm like, what are we doing? Like some of the shit, it's like, it's great that you can go forward on 4th down and you surprise people on 4th down in the first quarter. Game on the line in 4th quarter, you're punting many times. And I'm like, what are we doing here? It doesn't make any sense. That kind of shit, dude. Situational football is, he's got a lot to prove there, man.
He does. And so I got a question for you, right? So I've heard some individuals say if the Jets win 10 games but miss the playoffs, he's fired. Where do you stand on that?
10 games? Oof. I think there's a playoff mandate for him this year, dude. I think that I think Woody Johnson needs to make money now. I think he's spending money. When he spends monumental money for Aaron Rodgers, and Woody finally came out of his cloud and said, you know what? This team actually has to win now. Like Woody Johnson realized that, you know what? You're not getting return on your investment. What the fans have been getting for the last 12 years, we're not getting shit in return for being fans. Woody Johnson's finally realizing now spending money, I'm not getting back what I deserve. So I think he won't say. I think it's a playoff mandate, dude. You have to make the playoffs, especially with Aaron Rodgers here, man.
I'm with you 1,000%. And Pete, I've been getting backlash for saying it. Like he already said there's no playoff. Of course, he's not going to publicly put that level of stress on his team. He's not going to do that. It'd be dumb for him to do that. But there's no way he's not sitting there talking to his brother like, look, we're spending all this money we're about to write a check for $60 million to freaking Aaron Rodgers. We've got a talented young roster. We've got freaking the offensive player of the year, the defensive player, the rookie of the year, offensive player, rookie of the year last year. Like, there's just no way he's going to sit back there and say if he can't figure it out to get us into the playoffs. We're not asking for the Super Bowl, but the playoffs.
Well,
I think there's a playoff mandate.
But here's the thing. Saleh's scapegoat was Zach Wilson and Mike LaFleur. Like, the reason why the Jets aren't winning is the quarterback. That's what it is, right? That's what it was. So now you got the quarterback. You got one of the best in football, one of the best of all time.
Yep. Then you got an OC that's proven he could win at this level. You know what I'm saying? At Green Bay,
no excuses,
when he
dude.
was
There's
at the
literally
Jacksonville,
no
there's none. There's none. If he doesn't get this playoff this year, I think that yes, I'm with you. I think that he's done. I think he's going to get fired.
Dude, just think about on paper a healthy Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, the Titans are talking about. We just went through talking about all these playmakers.
Yes.
Quinnen Williams, Sauce Carter, DJ Reed, who is I think underrated, should have been a Pro Bowler. Like all this talent, this team is ready to win and win more than 7 games, 8 games. You got to talk 10, 11, 12 games and make a run and don't bullshit us, don't fall flat, and I don't want to hear any excuses. So the last piece of the puzzle is the one topic we have to talk about because it's the biggest story on the Jets is the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. And if I'm being completely forthcoming, I thought this would be done by now. I'm shocked it's not. I thought that, before free agency would get done so the Jets can make him as a marketing tool to bring in players. Obviously, he's doing marketing anyway because Lazard came here and all this other stuff. But to me, if this goes through the draft, I think the Packers are incompetent. It doesn't make any sense to me because if I'm the Packers, I want my return on my investment this year. If he leaves my team this year, I want my compensation this year. I'm not waiting until next year to get it, right? So if this goes through the draft, dude, I'm not going to be ultra nervous, but I'm going to get a little bit panicky because I'm like, this is starting to get a little ugly here where now you wonder what the hell we're doing.
I'm again, you and I, we might as well just be in each other's heads because I've been saying the same thing. Like, I'm shocked it's gone this long. I really thought after Aaron Rodgers says, I'm going to be a Jet, within a week we would have had the trade announced. Here we are. I think it's like day 30 something since he came out
forever.
and stated such. But yeah, I agree. If you're the Packers GM and you're going into year 4, right? Year 4 or year 5? Year 4 of year 4 of your quarterback, and you need to make a decision on utilizing this man or activating the 5th year option, and you don't put weapons around him because that's what they're in essence doing by not getting compensation this year. That pick 42 or 43 can be a weapon to help analyze what you have with your quarterback. And you just need to do that. You can't wait till next year when potentially now your quarterback potentially situations on a hot seat because you didn't properly plan around. It makes zero sense. I do believe up until the draft, the New York Jets have, I'm not going to say leverage. It's just stupid. But they have, it's incentivized for them to go ahead and make the trade before the draft. And the GM has said as much as well. The Buchanan or Gukin, that guy. He's already said he wants to do it, before the draft. But I have a feeling, a gut feeling, if for some reason it doesn't happen, that this could probably carry on well past training camp, right before that September deadline where they got to go ahead and write the check for Aaron Rodgers. And that would be infuriating. And I think that puts the ball in the court more so of the Green Bay Packers at that point.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear if it starts dragging into that, because you're talking about a player, Hall of Fame player, who knows the offense, knows the offensive coordinator, has Lazard here. He has to get used to the rest of his team, man. He's got to establish himself as a leader. He's got to establish himself on the offense. You got to get in sync with all these different things. He's not going to play preseason games. You already know that. So it's just like those practice reps got to come somewhere. So I'm hoping it's before the draft, dude. I mean, if you want to make it the night of the draft, the other thing too is that you got to figure like just common sense from the NFL perspective. They want their schedule to come out, dude. They want to know how many primetime games we want to give the Jets. Put Aaron Rodgers on the Jets, you're going to get 5 primetime games. You want to put your schedule out there. So you got to figure at some point, like, Roger Goodell's like, listen, man, this trade's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. It's a foregone conclusion. Everybody's assuming it. Let's cut the shit here. Get it done for the draft. Have this big ceremony. Have the press conference. Have all the hoopla. And then, it just makes I don't know. It's just mind-blowing it's not done yet. But I have a funny feeling like the week of the draft it gets done and we all move on. And then the expectations are legitimate run.
I actually think it's going to happen one of two ways. And I heard from this from one of my boys, and it made a lot of sense to me. But I think a pick swap in this trade is actually one of the packages that right now is on the table. A pick swap between pick 13 and 15 because there's somebody the Packers are looking at that they want to bring in, and they want to see if he's available at 13 before they go ahead and finalize the deal. If that player is not there, then I think it moves back to that second round compensation. And of course, the package changes a little bit, whether it's the first pick swap and the second, et cetera. But I think that's the holdup. I think there's 2 packages on the table right now, but it only makes sense if they're going to do a pick swap. If the player that they're just in love with is available at 13, then it makes sense to do that swap, potentially lose compensation and later compensation in the future pick to make it happen, vice not. So I think we'll probably find out day 1 or day 2 of the draft, depending on whether that guy is there. That's my gut feeling. When he told me about it, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, man, I'm with you. If it goes past the draft, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm gonna sweat a little bit. I know what's gonna happen. I know what has to happen. Yep. But I'm gonna sweat a little bit until it happens, because now I'm like, man, that's dumb that they didn't get compensation this year. If they're that dumb to do that, are they dumb enough to potentially push this thing all the way to, you know what I'm saying? Like, are they going to go into the season?
Spiteful.
Go ahead. Yeah. Exactly. Like, if you're that dumb to pass on compensation now, how dumb can you really be? And that's where I get nervous.
And I think a part of it is they're probably saying, let's see if we can stress the Jets out and force them into making a bad decision. Like, not like I understand conditional compensation next year because there's no guarantees Aaron Rodgers plays 2 years. That's a legitimate concern. Like if it's Woody Johnson, Joe Douglas, whoever it is, I have that concern. Like I have a funny feeling this time next year I'm gonna be talking to you and be like, is Aaron Rodgers gonna come out of his retreat? Is he gonna retire? Is he coming back? Does he want to play football anymore? Is he going surfing? How much is he doing mushrooms? Like, we're gonna be talking all kinds of shit. And Fury's
Tyson,
not gonna play.
if I had to bet my mortgage on it, I would bet my mortgage on it that you and I will be chopping it up, and it's going to be whether or not we have our quarterback or don't going into the next season.
Yeah, so I understand if that's an argument, the conditional pick next year, I get it. And the Packers could be playing the Jets' emotions a little bit. Like, you know what? Getting closer to the draft, man, they can say, listen, we'll wait till June, we'll wait till July. We don't care. And see if they can force Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas has done a lot of really good things. He's won a lot of trades, but now this is probably the biggest move he's have to make for one of the biggest names in football, man, where the whole world is watching. Like the Jets are on everybody's radar. You go on social media every day, there's an Aaron Rodgers comment,
It's
good
Jets,
or bad
Jets,
comment,
Jets.
right? Crazy,
yeah, I don't. I think at this point, I will say this: when Joe Douglas came out on the WFAN show and pretty much stated he's going to be here, right, for the whole world to see, that made me significantly more confident that the deal is done. It's just whether or not which package they're going to choose. That because I just don't see Joe Douglas as buttoned up as he's been, as quiet and Fort Knox like as One Jets Drive has been. That all of a sudden he's going to go ahead and say that without having the assurance and confidence that he can back it up. So that made me more comfortable. But again, as I said it before, if they don't get compensation, if the Packers don't get compensation this season, I get really nervous because you've got to be pretty stupid to do that when you're trying to analyze where your team is at in this rebuild process to not get compensation now for your young quarterback. So, man, 10 more days before the draft this year?
Yeah, and I think too. It's like I don't do this very often. I give Woody Johnson credit. He picked the guy he wanted. He went for the big fish, and he's close to landing him. And I continue to think when you fly out Woody Johnson and Jaime and Saleh and all these guys out there to go meet Aaron Rodgers, the compensation has got to be close, dude. They had to have, obviously Rodgers is interested, but the Packers had to be like, we're close enough to get a deal done here. Go out and talk to him and see what happens. Like some of these reports, like, oh, there was nothing. Like the parameters have got to be there. They've got to be really, really close. Where it's a matter of, like you said, it could be a situation where it's like, listen, we want to see this guy's available or some little things, but I'd say it's probably 95% done at this point. It has to be
1,000%.
Woody Johnson isn't flying out there for the hell of it.
Hey, let's fire up the jet and go have lunch with Aaron Rodgers just in case. No, there's no way. They didn't go out there without a framework already in place where, 100%. Okay, cool. This is within the realm of possibility. We'll go talk to him. Like, the deal was there, and I really do believe Aaron Rodgers might have hurt us a little bit when he said he was 90% retired. I think that might have given more reason to pause in regards to what the compensation discussion might have been, but it did bother me. Like, in all actuality, if you had told me next year, hey, it's going to be a second this year and a first for Aaron Rodgers next year, I'd have been like, they can have the 30th overall pick or the 32nd. I don't give a damn. But then when my man said 90%, I was like, whoa, hold on, time out. Let's make that a conditional. Turn that to a conditional, you know what I'm saying? Like, he might not even be on the roster the following season. That changes the game a little bit. But yeah, I'm with you 1,000%, man. There's no way those guys, one, the Packers don't let them go talk to him. Two, they don't make the decision to do that the same exact day they get permission or whatever the case might be. And why would Aaron Rodgers entertain it if he wasn't obviously somebody contemplating on playing again this season? I think too many things were put in place that they already knew. Okay, boom. He's willing to play again. Go talk to him. What are you going to give us? This is what you're going to give us? Okay, great. Go see how you feel about him being a Jet. And then that was the conversation. To tell Aaron Rodgers, this is what we're bringing to the table. This is what we're doing. Maybe he gave us his demand list, whatever the heck it was, right? But yeah, brother, there's just no way. All that happened, and there wasn't a framework in place for that trade.
And why would the Jets expose themselves to it, too? The Jets, why would they expose themselves to going out there, like, just on a shot? Well, let's take a shot. No, because the backlash if you don't get them. Like, you'd look like complete jackasses. Like, you're not going to go send everybody out there to do all this fanfare because you're going to be seen. There are people stalking them at the airport that you can't expose yourself to that kind of backlash by saying a shot in the dark, and bypassing on Derek Carr, too. Like, they literally said, you know what? When they bypassed on Derek Carr, I'm like, you know what? They know that this is going to happen. They know this is getting done. Like, because you have to have some kind of conviction because they're not going to settle for some other clown at this point. They were all Rodgers all the time. And I give Woody Johnson credit for going for the big fish. I mean, he's going big, he's going bold. They've got to get done. But I mean, I'm just like I said earlier, I'm shocked it's not there yet. It's like, and it's like when he was on McAfee, I was so excited, I was all fired up and stuff. I'm ready for this big press conference and shit. And now the excitement's now it's like I'm just gonna be relieved Like you'll be excited, obviously, but like when it's announced, you'll be relieved. Like finally,
now
man.
now it's just anxiety that I'm trying to get relief from, from excitement to anxiety. I'm like, all right.
So last question. First of all, thank you so much for your time, man. I could talk to you for days.
Brother, thanks for having me, man. Hey, listen, anytime you need me, just let me know. It's always fun chopping it up with you, bro.
So the last question is the easiest question you're going to have. Aaron Rodgers in the mix. Legitimate, fair, realistic expectations for the Jets this year.
Okay, so healthy Aaron Rodgers. Everybody's healthy. The defense is a top 10 defense. I do believe our offense takes a major leap. I'm anticipating a top 12 to top 15 offense. New York Jets are going to go to the AFC Championship game. I believe that wholeheartedly. I just think that now, when we get there, and we're going up against a Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, I get a little bit more hesitant because those guys, I think, are on a different tier. Aaron Rodgers, as great as he is, he's just not those guys anymore. But for me, there's just this thing about you make all these moves, you get them going, and I like the OC hiring. The more and more I start to peel back the onion in regards to how he was impactful on all the red zone offense for the Packers. Those guys scored like at a 75% clip in the red zone, something ridiculous. So you got a guy like Breece Hall. The talent is just there. I see the Jets getting to an AFC Championship game. Regular season record of 12-5. They win the AFC East and they make it to the AFC Conference Championship game. But I just don't see us getting past that to the Super Bowl. That's where I have us with Aaron Rodgers, AFC Championship game.
No, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I think top 10 defense. I think the offense will be a lot. Just it's gonna be fun to watch, exciting, score a lot of points. They say we have top 10 defense, top 15 offense. Then it comes down to coaching, man. Then you're gonna be, So I'm thinking the same thing. 11 wins, 12 wins, and you'll be good enough to get the championship game, and then anything can happen there. I'll just drink right through that.
Yeah, exactly. Once you get there, anything can happen. I'm just saying. 100%. I see it. If I had to put money on it today, I'm putting money on we make it to the AFC Championship game. But like you said, once you're in the dance, anything can happen. They can go on a run. They can go on a Joe Flacco like run, right? Get to the Super Bowl, get a ring. It's very, very possible. Nobody thought the Baltimore Ravens were going to win the Super Bowl that year when Joe Flacco did it. It happens. So with the defense clicking, the offense clicking, I mean, so we can hope.
We're going on a Tim Boyle run, right?
Ooh, let Tim cook. Let Tim cook.
Do you honestly think that Tim Boyle's our backup quarterback this year, or do you think it's Zach?
No, I don't. I think it's Zach. I think Tim Boyle. Again, when we got the hiring, I didn't know much about the guy, so I kind of went back, and this is a guy who's his ceiling is significantly limited. I think I think as a third string quarterback, I think you can't do better. But I think ultimately Zach Wilson beats him out in camp. And again, with Zach Wilson, I think playing behind Aaron Rodgers, and I think Buffalo Jets fan made a perfect point. He said if you were looking at Zach Wilson not as the third or second overall pick, and you looked at him as a career backup in the NFL, he's about as good as you're going to get in the NFL. Career backup wise, Zach Wilson can do just enough to win you some games. You know what I'm saying? You can't rely on him consistently, but he can get in there and win you a game if necessary.
With the playoffs on the line, would you rather have Minshew play or Zach Wilson?
Oh, Gardner Minshew. 100%.
Would you rather have?
But I think Teddy Bridgewater. I would take Teddy Bridgewater. Right now, like going into this year, I'm saying what Zach Wilson can be, not what I think he is right now. But if we're talking about like we're in a playoff, no, give me freaking Gardner Minshew, who I think is one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the league. I think he should be a starter on some teams.
See, that's my question, though. It's like I don't agree with the way the Jets are handling this at all. Like Tim Boyle, I think is a guy that if Aaron Rodgers is not here, he can help implement the offense, install the offense. He's familiar with Hackett.
Yes.
He can explain the route trees, explain the concept. He can do all that till Rodgers gets here. My problem is just say Aaron Rodgers, a little bit older, gets a little banged up. He misses 2 games, God forbid, right? If we have to rely on Zach Wilson to win those 2 games, get us into the playoffs, I'm going to be drinking heavily. Where I would much rather have a proven veteran backup that's actually won games, and that's where the Jets. So I'm wondering if the Jets is like, you know what, we'll let Zach get all the reps he can now, and they make a move during training camp. But I just don't understand. I don't think you should have your roster, your game day roster, Zach your backup. I don't like that idea.
No, 100%. I'm talking about between Tim Boyle and Zach Wilson. That was the question. I was answering that. Between Tim and Zach, I think Zach's going to beat him out. But no, I'm a big fan still of bringing in Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think he's going to come here though, right? Because you're talking about somebody who knows that this organization has spent a lot of time in Zach Wilson and are still believing in what he can become, and you're going to be behind Aaron Rodgers. I think he's trying to get a position to where he can potentially see the field for Teddy Bridgewater. And from my understanding, what he's asking for between $8 and $9 million may be a little bit of a stretch to dedicate to that quarterback room after we pay Aaron. But the Gardner Minshew thing, the Gardner Minshew should have been on our roster. I saw that contract and thought to myself, why the hell didn't we? This would be easily the top backup to have in the league right now is Gardner Minshew. I was really, really high on that, hoping it was going to happen, but we didn't go that route. So, and I don't think Teddy's going to come here. So who are the other options? I was looking at the other quarterback options, and I'm like, it's just a bunch of mid to say, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I've heard some people say Cam Newton, and I'm like, I don't think I want anything to do with Cam Newton.
No, me neither.
After seeing what I saw, and it's just when you look at what's available, that's when I'm like, all right, I think Zach becomes QB2 because what's available right now. Teddy Bridgewater, I would love to have him. I don't think the Jets are going to make a move because of the price point potentially. Everything else after that is just a toss up.
And that's what annoys me though, because they're going big everywhere else. You're going after all the big fish. Your Calais Campbell, Fletcher Cox, OBJ, all these big things. Don't cheap out the quarterback position. Like that's vital, dude. It's I'm like you're talking 11, 12 wins. What if you're one win away from winning the AFC East? You put the ball in the hands of Zach Wilson? No.
God help us.
I don't want to do that. I'd rather and this is to me, let this year be a redshirt year for Zach Wilson. Just sit on the sidelines,
100%.
Watch Aaron Rodgers play, watch everybody else play, read a book, get your suntan. Don't give a shit. You're not playing football this year. Let him learn, dude. Just do that. Yeah. But have another a legit number 2 behind Aaron Rodgers to win football games. That's where I'm at.
I agree.
And I just think the Jets they're taking a calculated risk. I think right now. Maybe it changes in training camp, but I don't. It makes me a little nervous, man.
No, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. I don't think we have a legitimate QB2 on the roster right now. I think we have an upside and talent of Zach Wilson. But in terms of, like you just said, the way you just put it, hey, listen, Aaron just won us 11 games. We need one more for the AFC East title. I'm drinking everything I have in my house to include bleach. If we're betting on Zach Wilson being the guy to get us over the hump, that makes my stomach hurt just talking about it in a hypothetical situation, let alone having to watch it live. But yeah, I'm so salty about it, and I've talked about a lot of people with this about why didn't we go after Gardner Minshew? This is stupid. He would be easily a premium freaking QB2, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, that ship has sailed, and right now we're stuck for the time being. But okay, what about this? What if, and I've been posed this question, so what if you see Zach Wilson in the preseason, and again, it's preseason, and I get that, but he's showing a level of competence that we just haven't seen, or the game has slowed down for him because we have an OC that understands his strengths and his weaknesses, and he's actually adjusting the offensive playbook for him, because we know we didn't get that from Mike LaFleur. So what do you think then if you see him coming out and, he's shown to be able to take advantage of some of that arm talent that he actually has?
So what? I'm bitter, man. I'm bitter.
Bro, no, real talk. My response was, I guess it makes me feel a little bit better that maybe it was Mike LaFleur. But again, this is me reaching because I'm a Jets fan first, right? So I'm thinking all of the rainbows and stars possible. I'm like, yeah. And somebody told me, what if behind Aaron Rodgers, he emerges as an elite QB? I'm like, stop it. I heard that and I was like,
this is the same player. The last game of the season, the Jets were petrified to play him. They would rather have the ball boy go out and play quarterback than have Zach Wilson go on the field. Then all of a sudden, in 3 months, he's going to be a good quarterback again? No, his confidence is shot. Everything is shot. His fundamentals are a mess. You have John Beck going on friggin' what is it? Not McAfee. Rich Eisen talking to Rich Eisen about how Zach can get help and all this stuff. It's dude, I love I don't hate the kid, dude. I think he was the wrong player at the wrong time. The Jets mishandled him. He didn't do the right thing either. So it's a mess. You give him a year off to figure it out. Maybe next year he can play or some shit. I don't care, but I have no desire to see him play this year.
You want nothing to see? Okay, no, fair enough.
I don't want.
Dude,
I want to win football
when you're
games,
going all in.
No, we're all in. This is a win now team. A win now team should not be. That's not my captain. It's just it. Right? But dude, let's be honest. But dude, his own teammates lost faith in him.
This is
friggin'
true.
team,
This is
that,
true.
Like certain things, like dude, you've been involved in sports and all kinds of stuff, dude. You
I
know,
have.
like when you have that person that just
guy,
lets you down,
yeah.
you lose faith and confidence in them.
It's a wrap.
It's so hard to get it back, dude. And nobody's truly gonna believe in you. They're not going to. Not the way
you have
failed
to
here.
transfer schools. You got to transfer schools. Like those kids don't usually get a chance again because once you lose the confidence, it's only one option for you, bro. You got to transfer schools because you start seeing it in practices, just the disdain. And it's a team sport, man. Everybody's got to be fluid. You got to be on the same page. Yeah, man. Zach Wilson will probably never play it down again unless an injury occurs. And I guess when that happens is why we're shook, is because we know he shouldn't. But if he gets forced into it, what are we going to be getting? That's nerve-wracking.
He's like the perfect candidate that needs a change of scenery. Like that, like for me, like Sam Darnold, when Sam Darnold left was a perfect time. He needed a change of scenery.
Yep.
And now Zach does, dude. Like when you fail to the proportion the level he did here in this market with all these things going on, it's like there's no turning back, dude. You can go somewhere else where they're not as hostile and the damage isn't already done. And maybe you can resurrect yourself there. You know, maybe that's a better place for you. But I understand the Jets saying, you know what, he can learn from Rodgers. That's great, wonderful. But I mean, unless you put, Aaron Rodgers, I don't know. I don't see it, man.
Tyson's like, I want nothing to do with that man on my
I'm
roster.
over it, man. Like, you just
He's
know.
done.
You just know it. Like, dude, it's the game instincts. His the football fundamentals weren't good. Like, just his game management, just how he handled himself on and off the field, struggled with the media. Like, he made so many mistakes. And it's just, so you want to make Mike LaFleur the scapegoat? That's fine. Some of the basic things he was doing wrong. They had to literally hire 5 coaches for him his rookie year to give him a friggin' to manage a game and throw for 100 yards.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's actually a very good point. To average 160 yards a game, we're going to get all these coaches around you to help you figure that out. That's a good point.
And you think about we lowered our level to like the games that were winning early in the year. He was throwing for 110 yards a game, and we're like, oh my god, he's making
That's how
progress.
you know we were desperate.
And
I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. I was one of the individuals that saw it and thought to myself, okay, all right, he hit that screen pass. Nice. Look, he's maturing. He's doing way better than he was. Yeah, I dropped the bar significantly low for that man. And in if you saw my preseason predictions, I had Zach Wilson as the guy throwing for 4,000 plus yards this year. I felt like, okay, year 2 in the system, Elijah Moore, we now got him Garrett Wilson. We brought in Tyler. I had the whole video, man, of how he was going to be the guy to break the passing record for the Jets. And then when he got hurt, I think everybody just held their breath like, oh my God. And then he came back and I was praising every little freaking 5-yard out he was hitting. Like, my God, look at that throw. That's an NFL throw right there.
When he won the Steelers game, like, oh my God, this is great. This is his defining moment. This is where we go.
Yep.
And then slowly but surely it started falling apart. And then it was after the Patriot game, I was like, this ain't working. Like, because like you'd watch, and what bothered me the most is you would watch guys come off the bench, second, third, fourth string quarterbacks come off the bench all across the NFL and put up 250 yards. No problem.
Yep.
We couldn't even get 140, 150.
I think for me, it was the level of arrogance that he had at the press conference. We're going to play them again. And I was like, why, bitch? Why do you want to play them again? To do that again? Like, for him to say that after that game infuriated me beyond measure because I was just like, you just look like you didn't belong on a JV team playing out there. The defense worked miracles to keep us into that game until the end. And that's what you said. We're going to play them again. Shut the fuck up. Go put your note. Yeah, that one for me is when it started to go down, and it just kept getting worse after that. So, man, you're bringing back some painful. Yeah, I'm starting to feel you right now. But I'm like, I'm starting to remember how mad I was, bro. But my beer budget went up.
Oh, dude, I went past the beer. I was in tequilas. I was like testing out tequilas and stuff. I was like, this is terrible.
Damn. He's like, this isn't strong enough. This isn't strong enough.
That's true. But then you look through, that's why it's like you go through all of that. And it's like, as great as Hackett could be as an offensive coordinator, it's basically a reclamation project. Like, you've got to fix his fundamentals. You got to fix his head. You got to teach him a new offense. You got to do all these different. Confidence is a huge thing. You got to re-inspire the teammates around him and probably look at him like, dude, this kid sucks. Oh, shit. Right? There's a lot of facets around him to say, okay, you have all these moving parts. Okay, you got to start week 3 because Aaron Rodgers is banged up. I'd be like, no, I'd rather have somebody in front of him. And like, you know what? You're going to keep sitting back there and just learning. Because, you weren't ready to play when you first got here. You're probably still not ready to play now.
Damn, man. See, you got me trying to rethink my mock drafts a little bit, moving QB up the board as potentially a position of value now. Because that's, now you're right. We can't have that, man. We put too much into the season to rely on Zach Wilson in any capacity. When you put it that way, you're right. Like I think we forget a little bit because we all have kind of like geared towards just blaming LaFleur for how bad everything was. But Zach Wilson was missing like screen passes by 10, 15 yards above the head of his receiver. Like that's not on the coach. That's not on the coach. You can't make that any easier for a player to hit. Man, maybe we could go ahead and trade back into the third and then grab Herndon Hooker or something. Because he's gonna drop. Package those 2 fourths.
I'm curious to see the Jets do. Obviously, they're not gonna trade Zach this year, but I just, to me, it's like this year is too important. There's too many things. I don't want to be one game away, and he's the guy that's gonna decide it first. If that's the case, then it's like gross negligence by Joe Douglas to have him in the game. It's like you shouldn't be. It should be Bridgewater. It should be, it should have been Minshew.
Should have been Gardner Minshew, man. Damn it.
Yep, that's what I thought.
but
anyway, we're going to get Aaron Rodgers.
I just got mad right now.
Aaron Rodgers is going to stay healthy 17 games.
Exactly, 17 games. We're going to be all right. We're going to be all right.
Going to get banged up in the playoffs, and then Zach comes in.
Don't do that. Don't do that to me, Tyson. I got to go to sleep at some point. You're going to have me having nightmares tonight.
So, Gunny, first of all, I said we're going to talk for 45 minutes. It's been an hour and a half, so I apologize for that.
No, don't. It's been a blast. I didn't even recognize the time, dog. Don't apologize.
I'm like, holy shit. So
I did the same thing. You just said that. I'm like, oh shit, he's right.
So before I let you go, man, give out where everybody can find you. Obviously I'll tag it in the thing below so everybody knows what your channel is. But you're a superstar, man. You're on Green Bean. You're a Buffalo Jet fan. You're all over the place.
Hey, man, I've had a little bit of a hot run. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it lasts. But if you want to go ahead and see me on my own channel, New York Jet Situation Report, I'm on YouTube. I also am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I just started my own TikTok as well to kind of match and mirror. So, just trying to get into the game. It's been so much fun, man, being able to meet some of these guys, like you being one of my idols, watching so much of your content when I was trying to get the Jets news out here stationed in Houston, Texas, between you, Jake Asman, Buffalo, Green Bean. It's just been so weird that I'm a year ago I decided, hell yeah, I'll just jump on YouTube, start talking football, and I'm talking to the guys that like inspired me to get to this point. So it's an honor, brother. Again, New York Situation Report, but anytime you need me, Tyson, you can call. You got my number. I'm down.
No, thank you again, man. And dude, I love your content. You guys are you're like just diligent. You're very informative. It's just, and you're fun to talk to, man. We can talk all day, dude. It's like, we can talk all day.
Yeah, you said an hour and a half, and I was like, no way. Oh, shit, he's right. Hour and 30 minutes.
So, like I said, thank you again. I'll tag all your stuff. Like, when the videos are, I'll put it in our channel, comments. Make sure everybody, you guys follow him. Thank you. And then maybe once this whole Aaron Rodgers shit goes down, we'll come back on again and talk about the compensation and
you just tell me when,
Zach
brother.
Wilson.
Now I'm gonna go ahead and find some hate tape on on Zach Wilson to be better prepared for it, because I got sold into the whole Michael LaFleur's at fault thing a little bit.
See, they got any rules. See, you got everybody's
Hey, appreciate you, Matthew. Thanks for mine.
Night, man.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.